Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. So you hit gold, first off congrats, and definitely watch my prior two videos. Let's talk about gold rank now. The biggest thing you're going to notice right off the rip is the fact that you're going to lose minus 24 points whenever you enter a round. When we discuss silver rank, this means you have to be smarter about your drop because you don't necessarily want to drop in and start immediately losing points over and over again. There's no reason to risk full random drops against lots of teams if you're unsure if you can clutch out. If you're watching this video, you know wholeheartedly if you're the type of player who can go for those big plays. Even then, you may avoid them to ensure you have high elimination games. So let's do a checklist for gold rank, and we're going to do the same thing for platinum, and then we're going to go into further detail with diamond. At the very end, of course with masters, we're going to do VOD review. We're going to do 3 rounds where we really review a hot drop in between, and of course when you play it a little safer, and it still all leads to high elimination gameplay. Number 1. Do you have a crafter where you're dropping? This helps reduce randomness of obtaining batteries or a decent loadout off drop. Also, other teams doing a similar strat will still play around there as well. Number 2, are my teammates confident? This really depends. If you have comms pushing for a hot drop, you will know if you have the ability to truly engage or not at a hot drop. I played with randoms, duo queued, and full stack during my experience making this video. Even then, the playstyle you need to adjust. Do not force your team to play a certain way. The huge meme / joke, it literally feels like you're speed dating. You need to go through with the flow, and you're not going to be able to change the opinions or feelings of your teammates. You're just going to have to be flexible throughout the situation to go with the team's strength that you did get randomized with. Number 3, after getting through bronze and silver, can I lay my shots? You got to answer this honestly. The answer is no. You're going to have to go back in the test range and aim train. You're going to have to get used to those loadouts as well in the test range. You're honestly going to have to go into pubs as well and just hot drop and feel it out. This is the answer that you're going to have to answer honestly when you're watching this video. Number 4, when do I leave a fight? When you got the squad wipe and KP, you can leave the fight. You're good. When you're out of heals and ammo. When you notice teammates are not landing damage or making plays. When no one is knocking anyone and the fight persists for too long. Or when zone is closing. These are all big indicators when you need to leave a fight and rotate. On other videos, we're going to talk about how to feel this out because that timer shrinks as the lobby skill level increases. Number 5, when do you engage? When you notice the enemy is in a consistent fight or sees knocks in the feed, aka a third party. When you notice the team is isolated and far from the zone. This means the third party might take some time to get to you. When you want their positioning to win the game. Or when you land a knock or major damage is done, you have to engage. Learn to reset quickly. Now, the biggest thing is armor swaps. They are key. That's the fastest way to get your shield healing up, especially if you see a purple in a box. Prioritize shield healing or flesh shields because this avoids aim punch or aim flinch, depending on what game you're playing, whatever nomenclature you're used to. That's whenever you get shot and you have flesh shields and no shield, your recoil is going to kick up a lot more, aka aim punch or aim flinch. Ensure you have big heals. This is batteries, as an example, to get in and out of a fight. There's a huge difference between selling up slowly, 1 cell at a time, versus getting full HP back on a purple armor. Use legend utility also to get in and out of a fight. This is your legend choice. Depending on your skill will matter in gold. This is literally the in-between if legends matter. It's kind of around this level. If you're bad at getting in and out of a fight or lack aim, well, that's when you're going to play Wraith or another legend. A defensive legend whose only strength is to get out is opposite pressure, meaning you need to land your shots. You got to land them. You can't get out like a Wraith. You, at that point, need to play Octane to use a jump pad to rotate out. You need to be Pathfinder to get in and out of a fight, Wraith, or a Legend, again, that can get out of dodge. That is really the biggest difference there. It can be much harder to play a defensive Legend whenever you're starting to do ranked and you're relying on your teammates to give you that utility to get in and out of a fight or rotation. But if you're a good player, again, if you got the aim, a defensive Legend is definitely fine. Remember, it's around gold level, so there's a bit of a mixed bag here. So you're going to have to use your best judgment and say, this is becoming a little too difficult, and you switch legend. In the platinum video, we're going to discuss what legends truly are more effective, as meta will start to become a little bit more prevalent because you just can't really rely on aim alone if you want to speed up the process to rank up. Just remember to stay near your squad and book it when you need to, especially if you're playing a defensive legend. Now, let's get into some quick VOD review. One of a hot drop, another round of a slow rotation, and ended as a high elimination game, and a game that was kind of in between. Let's discuss it. Now, sometimes happen you do not get your ideal legend. In this circumstance, I rarely play Gibraltar, but I know how to play Gibraltar, and my teammate happened to grab Horizon because we were dual queuing at this point. So we saw that there's probably like 3 teams in this area, but if you can land where you know that there's guns with your teammate, that's going to be ideal, and also play with where your team is located in these encounters. So as long as I stay with my teammates, we knew that we're converging on a building. You can kind of ping that out. And even our teammate across the way is definitely kind of playing to our strengths. I heard the audio here on the Wraith, and we managed to get this quick knock here as well. Now, these teams just kept constantly coming back one after another, and you have to kind of assess whether you can get in and out. At this point, because we haven't really burned through a whole lot of resources, not a lot to worry about, I did call that I might go for some heals because I'm looking around trying to figure out where the other team is. You can see that the mistake of this other team is that they didn't play together. So do not land on top of each other, but play at least within a general vicinity to make a play. This isn't the smart angle to play, by the way. I have my bubble, so I'm playing a little bit more aggressively. I want people to jump for me, but me standing out in the open is not a really smart idea. It almost gets me eliminated, but at least I backtrack to my teammates, and there is a blue armor, so I got swaps and materials. So then you assess the question again, do I have the resources to continue fighting? The answer is yes. I got a wingman. I have definitely enough damage that I can push out, and my teammates are looting up with a Loba. A Loba is a great way to get a lot more materials to stay in the fight. So there's no reason for us to leave. Us leaving really doesn't do a whole lot. So now you have the question here, they engage. Do we get in the fight? The answer is yes. If they are engaged and you see that they're knocking individual teams, you know that you can go in this fight. Now, if they did a quick reset, perhaps it may not be the best thing, but if a team was fighting off drop, you know for a fact that the resources are low and you should be going for this encounter, which is a big plus side to this. Now, I already did damage, and I am calming to at least one of my teammates that they should go in and push, which we do. We have a knock now. This is a 3v2 situation. I bubble just for the reset, just in case if they drop down, that one of them does drop down, and now we have a 3v1 situation. This is a big plus. This is big gains here. Now, the downside is, again, reset quickly. What's priority? Making sure that you can replace your shields, which you saw even the random teammate that we had was prioritizing shields. That's really important. If you're a lifeline, you need to get that reset. You see here, so we already are getting thirded, and I do believe I get knocked here. So at this point, if our teammates are low in resource, we should have backed up. This is hard when you're playing with randoms. Sometimes you just have to abandon them. At this point, when you have KP, you just got to leave if they're not willing to leave. Our Horizon definitely stayed a little longer, but again, they do have a full bat, and we could have gotten damage here. So you kind of have to assess, is this going to work? Sometimes it does, and sometimes, unfortunately, it does not. So kind of assess it from there and realize, are we playing too aggro, or do we need to retreat? Because there's never really a right or wrong here. It depends on your team's workflow and how well you guys are all playing together, guys and gals, doesn't really matter which. But if you notice that you're still getting the jump like you see here, because unfortunately what happens after all these fights is that there is still another team that does appear. This can happen, but there's no reason to be disappointed if your team was playing this well together. At this point now, it should have been 100% let's get out, but unfortunately there just was not enough time to really assess, so they were here right on top of us, knocked one 3v2 situation, which is pretty close, but sometimes you just aren't able to really clutch it out. And these things just happen because another team decides to show up. So kind of cap yourself if you realize that you're kind of too aggressive in it, and this doesn't always play out the way you want, which is why I'm providing this level of tips, especially in gold. My team actually happened to be plat, so this is more of a plat lobby feel. In gold, you're gonna have a little bit more breathing room. Let's get into the next VOD. Let's talk about whenever you drop, and it's a little bit safer, not necessarily crazy. You're not even landing near a crafter, and your teammates decide to just kind of full send it, because I am playing with two randoms here, and it just didn't really go perfectly, but the start of the round went really well, I guess, in terms of us playing together, because there was a team here and we are all on separate buildings, so we're trying to cut off the loot as much as possible. So in this circumstance, if you do a little bit of damage, you can raise the confidence of your teammate. That is going to be ideal, but ensure that you don't get cracked, and that if you are able to rotate, like even an example is a Horizon, to get to your teammates, that's what you want to do, and that's a play you're going to want to make. Because you can kind of feel out what your teammates are doing. If I notice they're playing together, well, I'm going to play with them. Not necessarily going to keep wide swinging. So that's just a little bit of a tip I can provide there. As long as you feel like your teammates are, because your teammates want to do well, especially in ranked, you can always assess that is the case. And it really went pretty well at the start. And this round ended up, let's see here, we actually won. They started punching each other out. These teammates, trust me, give a little bit of faith to your teammates, and it really does go an extremely long way, because I had 7 eliminations plus 8 assists. There was clearly a lot of great teamwork here. There was no comms whatsoever. Nobody was saying anything. And at the end of the day, it managed to actually really work out and play well. So if a team plays passive, you notice that teams want to play together, encourage it. Don't discourage it. Don't get upset. Always play to your team's strengths, and if they happen to have weaknesses, play to make sure that those weaknesses don't become a problem. That's the best advice I can provide, especially for this drop. So in this round, this happened to be a duo queue with a random. And again, you have to realize that not every game is perfect. So sometimes even Doc's area can be not necessarily hot. Sometimes you're trying to land hot and it just doesn't really work out, but at least if you know where the loot is, that's where you get your benefit in terms of maximizing on it. At least we got to get a lot of resources because we know a crafter's here. Again, try to use crafters to your best of ability. If your teammates don't, like you saw in the prior one, just play into it. No reason to get upset if people are not playing the optimal way. It doesn't really matter if it's quote unquote optimal. What matters is most is that you play optimally together. So the biggest thing is that we're crafting. So we're going to skip ahead, and it takes a little time because we just get resources. Hey, if you get resources, by the time you get into your first fight, that's what really matters. You want to rotate, go to zone. If it's gold, the lobbies play out a lot slower in some instances. Sometimes when people just drop hot and gold, sometimes the lobby dies out really, really quickly. You kind of have to assess that. So you see, this is still quite a bit of time before we even found our first encounter, and we go about, I want to say 5 minutes in. That's a pretty sizable chunk. Let's even go a little further. And there we go. Notice that this is where we get all our kills and eliminations. We notice the team is fighting, so we decided to just get involved at this point. And let's showcase the very start of that actually here, because we just saw them fighting from smoke. And at that point, that's whenever you can third. Remember the biggest tip as well, if the team is truly engaged and you see them getting eliminations in the kill feed, that's when you full send it and you can make a play. If not, just kind of wait for the right moment, and you can kind of feel out if you can get some good shots, if you can push in. Damage, a knock is going to be the first thing to assess whether you can go. And if you can't do this, take your time, go back in the test range, practice, improve. Don't rush this process, because trust me, at the higher ranks, it's only going to become a lot more annoying to deal with if you cannot consistently land your shots. And again, it does make a big difference, because even as you can tell, I don't necessarily have my teammates near me, but if you do damage, it makes the world of a difference into you actually clutching out an encounter. So that's pretty much all the tips I can provide today for gold. Let me know if it was helpful. We did 3 VOD reviews very, very quickly, as many tips as fast as possible, as well as many different ways to help you improve their gold. Don't stress too much about gold. Just make sure that your drop is really clean, and then go for rotation and placement towards the end, and I promise you points are going to go up. The biggest part where it starts to struggle for a lot of players, I know specifically, is going to be platinum as well as gold, and we're going to do the same process and make sure that you have as many tips to improve. If there's any feedback that you guys have, leave them in the comment section down below as we get higher tier of what you guys want to see, specifically whether it's engagement or encounter, so I can cover it, because I want to make sure that these guides are helpful for you guys. All right, thanks again. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everybody.